Just checking my mic. Right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to session 3 of the ZAA Global Virtual Summit 2020. I hope you've been checking in, maybe tuning into some of the sessions. We've had some amazing sessions, amazing 2 sessions so far. And now we're just moving into session number 3, where we're going to be exploring entrepreneurship and innovation. This is a very exciting one. We've got some very, very interesting people here, some big people, some big innovators, Zimbabwean innovators for that matter. And we're looking forward to hearing from them. There's a lot going on in the space of innovation worldwide. But it's great to see Zimbabweans occupying some space in that innovation sector. I'm just going to ask the chairman for ZAA, Mr. Monze, to come in. But before I do that, I'd love to thank World Remit, our sponsors, for making this possible. I'd also like to thank Kudu Business Support, High Mount London, and Fine and Country for also sponsoring this event, this summit. Follow the conversation on Twitter, use the hashtag ZAA Summit. We're also live on the ZAA Facebook page. We are live on Zimbo Live on Facebook, on YouTube. Oh, Mr. Mwanza. Good afternoon, Mr. Mwanza.
Hi, Tatenda, how are you? Thank you for having me again. It's been an amazing first half of the day, of the morning. Whichever way you want to say it. I want to again thank the panelists that we've had in the morning session, very interactive, the business and leadership session, impactful information that we had from there, and a lot of nuggets to take away. Very, very amazing. And we had it's absolutely engaging youth session, amazing speakers. Again, we want to thank them for coming on board and for impacting on this session. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the ZAA Summit. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you join us today. We've got an exciting panel. I want to thank the panel who our moderator will introduce shortly. But ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I want to thank our sponsors, World Remit, for coming on board. I want to thank High Mount Construction. I also want to thank Kudu Business Support, Fine and Country, based in Zimbabwe, for making this all possible. But ladies and gentlemen, we are entering into a phase, and during this unprecedented time of the pandemic, we need innovators, and Zimbabwe needs to stand up and be proud. You would understand why, because as much as anything else, these Zimbabweans that are on this session today are daring. They dare to be different. They do the impossible. Literally something that has never been done, and they have pushed the boundaries. And what inspires me a lot is that these Zimbabweans remain proud. They stand to be Zimbabweans, and it's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand over to Tatenda, but I want to thank you. Please follow the conversation if you're on Twitter or anywhere else, hashtag ZAA Summit. Great to have you. Thank you, Tatenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. So without much further ado, I'd like to just hand over to the moderator, Mr. Maimba. Maimba is going to be the moderator for this session, and he's going to be leading us through this very riveting conversation. I'm very excited to hear what's about to come my way, Maimba. Thank you for coming through.
Well, I am equally excited as well. I mean, yeah, it's exciting to really be going through and getting to listen to some legends.
Absolutely.
We have royalty for us, and we can't wait. Let's do this. Hello and welcome Welcome to everyone. Such a great honor to have each of you that have just plugged in, and we're really excited today. It's an exciting time to be alive, especially today when we get to interact with some innovators, inventors that have really taken the world by storm, and they happen to be Zimbabwean, and we're really excited. Today we have Will from all the way from England. We've got Tatenda. I'm going to be introducing them as they come on the screen and be talking to them about them. And these guys are guys that have invented driverless cars, man. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that in our lifetime would be celebrating Zimbabwe is doing the most? And this is why we're here today. And so please just log in and on the Zim Achievers Facebook page as we go through these conversations with these guys as they come on. So Tenda, you want to bring them on, please? Hey.
Hello.
Hello, Will. Hey, Cody.
Hi, how are you?
I am fantastic, thanks. I'm doing just fine.
Okay?
What's that?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can
Right,
hear you. There seems to be an echo, though. I don't know whether it's you or me, but you're sounding fine.
I can hear you fine. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good now.
Right,
You're good
okay.
now. You're good now. Tatenda, our backroom team, I'm just waiting for our other panelist is called Tatenda. So I'm waiting for Tatenda to plug in Tatenda. Or we could start without him if there's connectivity issues for the sake of our viewers who are on board, and then he could always join us. So to everybody watching, Zimbabweans and non-Zimbabweans alike, the issues we're going to be talking about are not necessarily obviously for Zimbabweans, because we live in a global village and a global world. But today we're talking about science, innovation, technology. We're talking about innovation and entrepreneurship. And from the days of the Stone Age, man, the days of the Stone Age, our great ancestors, humanity has always thought about how do we make life better? How do we offer solutions to our people? How do we cook with a fire instead of eating raw meats? You know, how do we make the distance shorter? Can we go on an ox-drawn cart? And from the ox-drawn cart, how do we get off the ox-drawn cart to move to something else? So humanity has always been about offering solutions. And millenniums later, we're here today to talk about innovation and entrepreneurship. And it's an eerie feeling to have all of you here and have this conversation. I'm not going to hog or take a lot of time. We've got Cody Gapare, and just by way of introduction, she's an entrepreneurial breast cancer survivor who has revolutionized the beauty industry by creating the first ever false lashes range for chemotherapy patients. You know, Cody, here in Zimbabwe, if you use the word revolutionized, it sounds very revolutionary. You know, it's a
revolutionary. Yes,
but we won't go there. So she has revolutionized the beauty industry by creating the first ever false lashes range for chemotherapy patients called C-Lash, and nominated for the Barclays Woman of the Year 2019, won Beauty Award at the EVAs, Innovation of the Year Award at the Zimbabwe Achievers Awards, Entrepreneur of Excellence Award, National Diversity Awards in 2019. And she's very proud in helping women feel more confident again. She gained an MBA, CMI, and Child Manager qualifications this year. MBA Startup of the Year finalist, at the MBA and BGA Excellence Awards 2021. Hello, Cody.
Hello, how are you?
Really, really
You
great.
you make me sound like amazing. Like listening to you, I'm thinking, are you talking about me or what?
We are talking about you, Cody. We are talking about you, and we're really excited. And one of the things that we're doing here on this platform, and even at Zimbabwe Achievers Awards, is to celebrate whatever it is that a Zimbabwean does, and that really, really makes us very, very excited. And then, of course, another of our panelists, William Sachiti, who in the last couple of weeks has been making headlines on British media, on Zimbabwean media, on the world stage, literally across the world, and trending because of what he has been a part of, known as Pasi William Sachiti, a Zimbabwean-born British serial entrepreneur and inventor. He is founder and CEO of the driverless car manufacturer Car-Go, which is known for being the UK startup competing with multinational companies such as Google and Tesla. That's Will right there. Hey, Will, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. After hearing that intro, wait, who is this guy? I want to meet this guy.
Especially, I want to meet the guy who's competing with Elon Musk, man. The guy just made lots of billions of dollars in the last quarter, and I'm saying this guy's competing with Elon for invention. Congratulations on that, Will. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Listen, I'm just here to try and solve problems, and I saw a problem that I was trying to solve, and here we are, I suppose.
Well, fantastic, great, and we're gonna touch a bit into that again, allow me to introduce Atenda Mungofa. He's a car designer, an industrialist, and entrepreneur. He's inspired by all things African, and motivated by the abundant opportunities that exist on the continent, and drive to solve transportation challenges of the people of Africa, helping Africa to build its own industrialization process. So, I mean, I'm really, really honored to have you guys. So I'm not going to take much time, like I said. This is how we're going to do it. I do have a couple of questions, but before I go into those questions, I just want, in a minute or two, for each one of you, just to tell us the journey. We'll tell us to the current trending innovation. What's your journey been? Inventing the car, the driverless car. Just what's your journey been like?
I suppose I'll answer your question in a very different way. So my camera keeps somehow veering off to the right. Let me try and fix this for you once and for all. I think that's balanced now. Yeah, it's balanced. I think if I give you a quick summary, so most people have a career. They might become, let's say, a lawyer, and then they start a law firm, or they might be a engineer, they start an engineering firm. So I'm a career entrepreneur. What this means is I've always been an entrepreneur since I was 17, 18, 19. And so this gave me a unique perspective where innovation has been always around what I've done. So in this time, I invented probably the first sort of automatic domain registration and auto-site builder websites. I invented digital bins for advertising. That's the one I took to Dragon's Den. I invented the world's first artificial intelligent robot librarian. I invented an invisible road network for drones to navigate from point A to point B. And I've got about maybe 14 patents in the UK and another 20 or so, which we just filed. And with Cargo, the problem was to solve last mile delivery. And with that, I invented a autonomous vehicle, which is able to deliver packages one after the other. And we just launched these in the UK. So I suppose that's a summary from me.
Whoa, it's. I like the way that I invented. I have 14 patents in the UK. I invented oh my word, man. We lift our hands to you and we give you a big round of applause to you, Will, and all the work that you're doing. We're gonna go deeper into that conversation with you. And I'm gonna move to Cody. And Cody, you have done something really amazing with regards to chemotherapy patients. And it must be one thing. I have a friend who is a 3-time cancer survivor, and speaking of which, in between these sessions, I actually dashed out to go with her to the imaging center for yet another scan because she needs some lumps to be checked again after the 3 sessions she's been through. So I understand totally firsthand what me just watching her. I watched her break down today. You know what I mean? I watched her break down, and she's like, "What's gonna happen? This is so confusing. I'm so frustrated. I don't know what's going on." But imagine what she has to go through just by the loss of hair, or by loss of, especially for a woman. And you decided, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? So Cody, tell us just in brief your journey and getting us to where we are now.
Yeah, so thank you. Can I just say, first of all, hearing Mr. Sachite speaking is quite inspirational, because having gone through the journey of inventing something, I know how absolutely difficult that is. Sometimes it's so destroying. Sometimes you're asking yourself, why you're doing this. So to have done that over and over again, I suppose it gets easier later on, but having walked that journey once myself, it's just, I'm in awe to be in the same space with you. So I just wanted to say that. So my journey, unlike Mr. Sachite, I always refer to myself as an accidental entrepreneur. I never set out to start a business. I'd never run a business before. I never even thought I would end up running a business. But I just went through chemotherapy myself, and I was struggling to cope with everything that was coming at me, because there is a lot of things that you can't control when you're in that space. And for me, I found that beauty became the thing that was easy for me to control. I had a say in how I looked, and that took my focus away from the pain of chemotherapy and the fear of my dying, all of that, to concentrating on, it's like how I looked and everything. So that's how my journey started. And I didn't for a moment think that I should be here today. Now we are in about 7 countries, and we're still growing. So my journey was very much different. It was very much, it was created by a need that I didn't see coming. But then once it landed on my plate, it became a challenge that I accepted. Had I known how hard this challenge was going to be at the beginning, I don't know if I would have started or not, but I'm glad I did.
Well, thank you, accidental entrepreneur, that you brought the solutions. Thank you so much, and for, again, obviously, you guys, everything you do is to change our lives, just to change our lives, and most importantly, to make our lives better. I'm going to go to Tatenda. Tatenda, thank you, Mungopa, for coming through. Tatenda, again, I'm going to ask you just in brief, in a minute or two, just tell us how's been your journey, you being an inventor, you, of course, wanting to change the lives of the people of Africa on the African continent. How has this been for you, just in short?
Well, Maimba, thank you for allowing me onto this platform, and to all the viewers that are with us today. My story is very short. It's a 3-letter word, or rather 4 letters, cars. I mean, cars are life for me, and cars represent transportation. For a continent that has got 1.2 billion people, there's so much movement that goes on. And we are those back-end people you never see. I mean, most car brands you see on the continent, you never hear who designed the car. You always know the brand, you always know what they represent, whatever they want to run. But you never see the guy who designed the product. Same as you never know who the architect for the house you're staying for is. So that's the place where I come from. And that journey has not been easy, especially from the African perspective. people believe that in Africa, products just come from nowhere. Products just appear. And like what William and Cody have been expressing, it's a journey. Some have invented, some were there by accident, but some are prompted by the problem that is persistent. And I think that's me, that's my journey, where I realized that unless someone does something about it, cars will be produced on the continent and they'll end up in America, and Africans always be riding bicycles, or riding cows, or riding donkeys. So I took it upon myself and my team. We decided, you know what, let's be proactive. Let's look at where Africa is growing as a continent. Let's look at how many people are going to be in the cities come 2035. Will they have transportation? Will they afford transportation? It means our company is there. So for me, the journey is really to bridge the transportation gap in Africa. And I look forward to sharing more details with you guys on this plan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So okay. As Zimbabwe Achievers Awards, ours is to celebrate Zimbabweans doing the most all across the world. And ultimately, this conversation is speaking to innovation and entrepreneurship, and how you guys, based in England, based in South Africa, based wherever you're based, how does Zimbabwe get to learn of you, benefit of you? How do we value add? I see William. So how do the locals back home here get to benefit from what you guys get to innovate? What are the linkages? For example, it might not necessarily be government to William, or government to Cody, or government to Tatenda, but it's how, William, I know there's so many young people that will be looking at you, and Cody and Tatenda. I had the privilege in February, before COVID hit, to moderate and run a boot camp for the United Nations SDGs conference, which had 53 countries. And I was running the youth boot camp, which had about 300 young people of innovators and science and tech. And they brought forth their innovations and so on. So when I think back and I look at these young people, my question to all three of you, I'm going to give you the same question, but you answer it, of course, is how can this, as I use this 300, how do we take these 300 young people so that Will can speak to them, mentor them, or they can have access, or you can, I don't know, that's pretty much my first question to each of you. How do we link you guys and Zimbabwean young people, Zimbabwean young inventors and innovators? So ladies first, maybe I'll start with you, Cody.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. I think the first thing that we have to look at is dialogue, because we need to open dialogue. I think there was a really important conversation that happened a few months ago, where people in Zimbabwe felt that when people in diaspora were communicating with people in Zimbabwe, we tend to discount what they know and the experiences that they have. So when we come on the ground and we want to kind of work with them, we are tone deaf to what they need and what they expect from us. So no one cares what you know until they know that you care. So I think we need to start with dialogue. Sit down with these people, and it's like when we say that we have something to offer. First of all, are people receptive to what you've got to offer? So listen to them and listen to what it is that you want to offer them. And then you need to understand their environment and understand what that environment needs. So you can't impose your vision and what you want to do on a group of people, because if we are going to be working together, it needs to be a two-way street. So I think the first thing that we need to really talk about is dialogue, and really understanding that as much as I'm bringing something to the table, the people that I'm talking to also have a view, and also we need to understand what it is that they want to get out of this conversation. And then we start from there, and then we can move on from there.
Okay, thank you, Cody. Thank you, Cody. Yes, let me move with the same question. I'm going to move to Tatenda. Tatenda, you want to come through?
Yes, thank you so much, Maimba. from my perspective, I mean, social media has bridged the communication gap. It's one of those key things that it's a tool that we have to embrace in this generation. I mean, when we were growing up, the medium of communication was either letters or landline communication. But with the advent of internet and the innovation that has been there in the world, communication has gone up a level. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm not there really for other interesting stories that people post after. I'm there to network because I see there's more value there. There's dialogue happening. For example, within my company, we set up WhatsApp groups. So if I have a correspondent in France, for example, we just add him to the WhatsApp group. That bridges the communication gap. And we've got an office in Zim. We've got a Zim office based on WhatsApp. So we're just using the digital platforms that are already there that are cost effective. If anything, you just have to buy data for you to do. You can share information, you can share images, you can share videos. So I believe that people at grassroots level in Zimbabwe, in other countries, that need to collaborate with, let's say, our vision as Mureza. They want to add value to it. They want to express an idea. They want to reach out to us. We are there on social media. Myself, personally, I think I'm an accessible individual. I don't believe in this whole bureaucracy that business is focused. A system where you have to go through somebody to go and talk to someone else. I think that's what Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook were really trying to remove. So I embrace that if you want to talk to me, you can write on my wall, you can drop me an inbox, and I can answer you honestly from what I think. Because the time it takes for an idea to be planted and matured in Africa is fairly faster than what happens in other parts of the world. And I think Africa has got a very big advantage with that. So the more we communicate, the more Facebook friends I have that are sharing ideas that they think we can implement and vice versa. I can grow my sales network by just appointing 10 people on Facebook and say, okay, you're selling product X forms. So I think that communication platform that we have on social media is the X factor to grow Africa and South Africa without considering any limitations that exist, maybe from a standard perspective. So for me, in a manufacturing space, in an industrial space, I think collaboration online, even like we are doing this summit online, I mean, we are in different countries, all of us, but we are collaborating together. So I think that's my bit of thinking towards that.
And Tatenda, just with you before I move on to William, I want to ask you something. Before I move on to William, I want to ask you something, Tatenda. You have recently launched a new car model. You want to give us just a quick one about that invention that you've done? You've launched it. It's been launched in South Africa a few weeks ago. Is that correct? And then you'll be hopefully coming to launch it in Zimbabwe. I think I heard you on news. So you want to say just quickly in less than a minute about that story?
Okay, so the launch happened on Friday. It was our brand launch, not necessarily the product launch. We've got quite a number of products that we are going to be launching, and definitely we are coming to Zim with the product or products. So I'll share more on that, or you can go into our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and you find information on the primate. But it's really an affordable vehicle for African people that's coming in to bridge the gap, to sort of like help people transition from buying the gray import cars that they were used to be able to buy brand new vehicles. To some extent, we are actually going to be allowing a one-to-one exchange for those vehicles. So there is quite a lot of activity around our brand, but we did it digitally because we felt that the audience is larger on a digital platform. So we reached all countries. Now we are moving physically into all of those countries, and we're in all 54 countries in Africa.
Well, well done, Tatenda. We're going to be talking a whole lot. I mean, let me move to William. If you want to come in, please, with regards to the question that I asked, please just come through and feel free to just shoot away.
Sure, but let me come a little closer with this one. So, young people, if you feel you need to find me or talk to me, you've already failed. That's it. The reason why is if you think about Mark Zuckerberg, for example, there's only one Mark Zuckerberg. You might read a book on Mark Zuckerberg and try set up the next Facebook. You can't. Facebook's already been set up. Same thing with Bill Gates. You might want to try read a Bill Gates book and be the next Bill Gates. You can't. Microsoft's already done that. So the people who change the world are the ones coming up with the new stuff and not the ones who emulate. So when we're creating tech startups or tech like I do, the first question anyone will ask you is, what problem are you trying to solve? And if you're trying to solve the same problem William's trying to solve, which is building artificial intelligence for self-driving cars, I don't know if that's a big problem in Zimbabwe, but you live in Zimbabwe, you know the problems there better than I do. So what you're probably better off doing is daring to innovate rather than emulating. That's it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much there. I think daring to innovate as opposed to daring to emulate, you know, and that's the message there for young people and also for inventors, I guess, and innovations that are based here locally in Zimbabwe. And of course, like you said, I'm going to come back maybe to you. Let me just come back to you now. What are the possibilities for your latest invention, the driverless car? I mean, I know that for now it's only it can only carry anything the size of a shoebox and deliver that. Well, this is according to British media and a bit of research that I did. Is there scope for driverless cars carrying a washing machine?
So can I answer that question completely differently? Sorry, I'm going to take over your moderation here. So my latest invention is actually something called trees of knowledge. So what this is I realized some time ago that in Southern Africa, we went cashless years ago and we all have smartphones. You know, even a kid's got a they might not be the latest iPhone, but smartphones have become abundant. However, what many people don't know is that over 32 million children in sub-Saharan Africa do not go to school. So what I did is I made, you've all used Siri or Alexa, is I made an invention, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny computer. In fact, I've got one here. This one here, this tiny computer. This is about twice as powerful as your smartphone. Then inside this computer, we put the entire educational syllabus for school. Then we made it broadcast a mini internet. So what we did is we put educational syllabus as a mini internet inside trees. So if you go to certain areas and you find a tree, this tree will broadcast Wi-Fi. You connect to this Wi-Fi and there is your entire educational syllabus. So that is my part to solving a part of the educational problem in Africa. So that's my latest invention. Correction there for you.
So wait a minute, hold up now. You're saying that if a child in rural Zimbabwe goes to a particular tree,
yes,
they can access Wi-Fi off that tree.
Precisely, and that Wi-Fi has got preloaded educational content. So just like it was the next step in the evolution of kids huddled around a tree and a teacher teaching them whilst they're under the tree. All I did is I made a digital version of that teacher, a little AI that teaches the kids. So exactly the same thing, but instead we've just gone the next stage in the evolution of that experience. Still go to a tree, go under the tree, and you'll be taught.
Wow.
So what I did, just to add to it, is I thought I didn't want this to be for profit. So I registered intellectual property on it, and then I published it all as for free and put all the schematics and specification for free. So anyone can create this for free. So I took away the risk of capitalism being anywhere near it. So it's free. It exists. You can go online. I was covered by a lot of the South African press recently, actually.
So it exists and is actually operational as we speak.
There are very big charities. Some of the biggest charities in the world are talking with us, as in trying to do a mass rollout. So when I go to Zimbabwe in a month or two, I'll ensure that it is installed in places we've already identified. But right now, the full guide, full specification, exactly how to do it, where to do it, the operating system is all free, online, available for download right now. Just look up Trees of Knowledge and the name William Opasi, and you'll find it online.
Trees of Knowledge. Oh my word. I mean,
and then add my name to it so you find the right one.
Yeah. So, I mean, all three of you, I want to tell you something. I mean, something that you guys already know. I mean, we have so many nationalities of people making the lives of their people different. And what you've just said is the most humbling of stories, that to realize, one, that, you know, our rural folk would learn under a tree, and then Trees of Knowledge comes up, and then you invent an AI so that the same children can feed off the same tree in their neighborhood and learn and compete with a child in London or in Japan, in New York, is absolutely mind-blowing. And we look forward as ZAA to meet with you when you come through, and really get this, be a part of the process of getting it to the kids that really, and to make it worse. No, not to make it worse. That's the wrong word. To make it even sweeter, it's for free. You know, that is something else, Will. That is absolutely something else. I'm gonna come to you, Cody. Again, your story and your inventions and innovations really touch on the emotive side, because they want to speak to giving confidence to women that would have lost it. You know, it's really easy to lose confidence in the loss of hair and the loss of looks and so on. You know, is this, again, speaking again with regards to Zimbabwe, is there something in your next trip that you'd like to share with and help women back home? Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was doing my, when I went to uni, I was looking a lot deeper into this whole, because for me, I wanted to understand how a beauty product could change my whole outlook, from being depressed and failing to cope with my treatment to actually being able to wake up in the morning and then looking forward to another day, because I started this thing called Lipstick and Heels, where my day consisted of getting up in the morning. Initially, it was just getting up in the morning, having a shower, putting makeup on. And that got me from feeling absolutely depressed, not wanting to go to work, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to eat, to absolutely being a different person. And, you know, it's like taking my life back. So I wanted to understand what was in this whole thing that made that difference. And there is a study that shows that how you feel on the outside actually impacts what you feel on the inside, because if you get control of your life, it allows you to focus on the positives. So what I realized is, when you go through cancer, most of the people think your journey ends the day that you finish treatment, where that is not actually true. Because the day that you finish treatment, it feels like, you know, the war has ended, the troops have gone home, and you're left with a broken city to build on your own. And most people actually find that they cope harder with a post cancer treatment than they did through cancer treatment, because when you're going through cancer treatment, you've got this whole army of people around you looking after you, and then you ring that bell to say that you finished treatment. Everybody's happy, they all go home, they think, okay, you can go on with your life. What happens is, while you're going through treatment, your social network shrinks. Nobody is asking you to go out because you're in bed and you're not feeling well. So being able to look good while you're going through cancer, I know sometimes it feels like you're fighting for your life. What do you care what you look like? You keep those social connections. You keep in touch with your inner self. You manage to get hold of the things that you control, so that when that journey ends, with the team of people, the medical team and everybody else who's helping you, you still have enough of yourself to carry on. So for me, yes, absolutely. When I come to Zimbabwe, the idea is to try and get this, to kind of get this knowledge out to people, to say, look, a lot of people struggle with cancer, and it's something that for a long time hasn't been recognized, struggle with cancer post-treatment than they actually do while they're going through treatment. And there's something that you can do to kind of, while you're going through cancer treatment, you need to have a game plan to what you're going to do when you finish treatment, and you're supposed to take on your life that you hadn't bargained for, a life that you didn't know what to do with, a life that you probably don't know what to do with. So it can be hard to survive post-cancer, and being able to do these little things can help. So that is what I'm kind of planning to do.
Oh, fantastic. And now, Cordelia, do you want to tell us about some of your products?
Absolutely. So at the moment, some of my products, they are protected because we're going through patenting. But then what I can tell you is Sea Lash is not the only beauty product. So the whole idea when I started Sea Lash was to get beauty products to people who couldn't access beauty products because of limitations, not just because of cancer, but any illness that makes it a challenge for you to be able to access beauty products, whether it's because you've got problems with, it's like your muscles are not functioning very well and you can't handle a beauty product, or your skin is sensitive, or it's like it's something that is happening to you during any kind of illness. So what C range, which is the other products that are going to come, they're going to target those areas of beauty that people who've got illnesses have been finding challenging because they can't access them. Because with Sea Lash, I invented a lash that was specifically for people with cancer. But then one of our biggest clients has been people with alopecia, because those people lose their lashes for years. They haven't been able to wear lashes, and they've now been able to access them because of Sea Lash. So we are looking at those marginalized people so that they can afford to wear beauty products if they so choose.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Cordelia. That's really great work that you're going through there, and we wish you all the success, really, as you bring this to life and you change the lives of millions of women and post-cancer survivors. And this is really something that's inspiring. Tatenda, I want to ask you something. Your brand of vehicles, and of course you're competing against established car makers like Toyota and so on. How has it been as a startup and getting into the market? How has it been? I mean, I know that startups are the way to go. Startups are changing lives. Startups are challenging. Each one of you're challenging the status quo and changing and tilting and changing the playing field. But Tatenda, what's your personal experience in terms of going into? And one of the things that I want to add on is that going to the African market, yes. And sometimes as Black people, as Africans, we just seem not to trust our own people from inventing. Sometimes I get the feeling that people who made this car, Tatenda? Well, this car, does it start? To start off with, does it start? Do you get people second guessing you, as it were?
Maimba, let me first answer this from this last statement you said. Africans, we have this PhD mentality, which I think is well versed in Zim, when they say it's pull him down or pull her down. When we were young, we used to make cars out of wires. We take down people's fences and start making our own cars from that. We would craft our own cars. So the principle is the same when you're making something. If you're good at creating a structurally strong wire car, you should be able to do the same when you start using sheet metal. So my background as a car designer gave me an insight of the industry I was attempting to get into. And I'll say this without any restrictions. It's a well monopolized industry globally. You find there's an organization that controls lawmaking in car manufacturing in Africa, but it's headed in Europe. It means the playing field for the African child is not going to be easy. It's like being told you are living in Harare, for example, that you can't vote in Harare. Even if you're a resident, you have to wait for the people in Bulawayo for them to give you the green light. So that was one of the challenges we faced, because our product or products had to be judged by people in Europe, people in America, people who supposedly know more about manufacturing cars than Africans. And then I went, for myself as a designer, I researched in terms of transportation design, what really makes these car companies so special. I mean, why do we need their credentials? Of course, they're talking of safety, they're talking of engineering standards, they're talking of processes. But I look back at the founders, you know, you look at Henry Ford. In 1902, he was just a guy like me, you know, an ordinary African, that is, or an ordinary person in an agricultural economy. Where did he learn how to make cars? Who asked him the standards for his cars? If you go to Toyota, it's a Japanese company that came from, I mean, Japan is a channel of islands. I mean, Africa is a bigger continent than Japan, but most of the automotive innovation stems from Japan. Look at China most recently. They did the same thing. So it's never really about what the world demands you to make. It's never really about the standards the world has set. It's about what you are correctly defining as solving a problem for Africa, for Africans, you know. If you go into the deeper parts of Zimbabwe, if you go to Cholocho, Binga, and all of that, there's some crazy roads there. And those roads, you can't drive your nice European luxury vehicle there, no matter if they tell you it's a 4x4. You need a practical African vehicle. But more so in the cities, the moment you leave the CBD, the road network becomes very difficult for you to maneuver. And this is the case in almost all the 54 countries. I mean, if you go to places like Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, it's the same problem. And this can be addressed by what product you're putting out there. So as a designer, you're trained to look at the problem and solve it on paper, you know, solve it as a design. In my background, you see that there's a design we are working on. It's a product we are going to put out there because we realized that someone in a certain terrain will not be able to access that. Now, I want to take it and combine Cordelia and William, because William is making technology, right, which is for autonomous delivery. Suppose William wants to deliver Cordelia's product from the CBD in Harare to someone who is staying in Fakosi, which is a suburb in Harare. That's like, what, 27 kilometers that the product needs to move. And William has got the technology. I mean, he says there's these trees of knowledge and all of that. The network is there. The idea to navigate the vehicle is there. Then the product is also there. He picks it up from Cordelia's factory or office in Harare, taking it to the end user, the client. So that becomes a transportation problem. That becomes, is the terrain ready for this particular product to move from point A to B? And when you come in there, you have to figure out, will this product, the vehicle that you're going to make, will it be able to sustain the conditions for the 27-kilometer journey and be safe, and also come back to where it started or where it's supposed to go to next? So for us, or for me, that journey now is exactly what Mureza and my company has enjoyed in the automotive industry. It's the hardest thing you would ever attempt to do, in my view. I think startups, by definition, are not African. That's one thing I've realized. The word startup should not really be an African thing, because African companies or African sort of businesses that innovate or invent should just be labeled as African businesses. I'm not going to borrow terms that happen globally and try to pin them on African type of processes, because the dynamic is different. We are already at a business level, not at a startup level. Because if you go for a sales pitch or an investment pitch and you say you're a startup, they say, but hang on, you've got a prototype. Why are you saying you're a startup? You're ready for commercialization. So just the terms of naming yourself in the industry. If you don't name yourself correctly, you probably don't get the same respect you get. And then there's this whole media. You know, media is our friend in a sense, but also it peddles information that probably is not aligned to what you are building or doing. And this I'm speaking maybe directly to any entrepreneur who is in Africa. You want media to publish the story you are going through, not a story they are assuming or where they are competing you with another brand. That's one challenge we have faced. People are saying, so your car is not as good as this car, but they've never driven our car. They don't know. And they go and write about it. So those are some of the challenges that as an entrepreneur in Africa, we've realized has been like a setback. But however, to overcome that, you can't over-innovate. You have to be practical. You have to make a product that's relevant for now. I think William touched on it when he said Africa is not ready for autonomous vehicles because the infrastructure is not there. So we can't really talk of that yet until a system has been developed. So we are now focusing on the process, and we believe the greatest asset to our process is the people themselves. The more people you empower, the more people you educate about a certain process, whether it's manufacturing cars, products, or whatever, the better the acceptance becomes. And that is an innovative process in itself.
Can I say something? Hello? Oh, I can't. I don't know where the sound is gone. Can you hear me?
We seem to have lost your...
Yes, it's okay. Go ahead. Sorry, I was muted there. Please go ahead.
Okay.
I only wanted to respond to Tatenda when he was saying the challenges that he's facing in Africa. It's like with people, the minute you talk about startup or innovation or new product, I think those challenges are all over. And I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, because when I first started, you get asked questions because you are bringing a new product to market. The kind of and I suppose maybe Mr. Sachiti is different because he's always done this, and it's like the more you do it, the easier it gets. But for me, the basics that you need, you don't have, because you don't have. I'd never had anybody who had invented a product in my family, so I didn't know who to ask the questions. I didn't even know what I didn't know. So even doing something as simple as going to the bank and asking them not to borrow money but to open a bank account, they wouldn't let me. So they say to me, "What are you trying to do?" "I'm trying to come up with an eyelash." It's like, well, eyelashes are already on the market. It's like, oh no, this eyelash is for people who are going through chemotherapy, who don't have their own lashes. And most of the people actually told me, "You're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. You're creating a problem you're creating a solution for a problem that is not there." So I don't think the problem is trying to rename ourselves or sit in a different arena. I think the thing is to get people used to us as Africans stepping in those arenas and claiming ourselves as innovators and as startups, as people who are bringing new product to market, because this is one thing that we've always shied away from because it's difficult. Getting a product that's already on the market to market is easy because there's already a roadmap that you can use, so you can go from A, B, C, D to E. But bringing a new product to market, there is a lot of things that you don't know. There's a lot of, it's like problems that you're gonna have to solve. So as much as looking 5 years ahead, you need to be able to look at tomorrow, and you need to be able to turn on a sixpence, because when things change, you need to change with them. And it's like you need to constantly be looking at your market. You need to be constantly looking at your suppliers. You need to be constantly. Sometimes you have to create a new machine to create the product that you're trying to bring to market. So I don't think the problem is what we name ourselves. I think the problem is it's never been something that we have looked into innovation, because it's difficult, but it's the most, it's not the most, it's probably one of the most, for me, satisfactory things that I've done, because getting something that did not exist before I started it to now, where people know that sea lice is something that Cody created, is priceless. And there is no, I've got this thing where I just look at things that people do in Africa. From a 5-year-old to an 85-year-old, Africans are innovators. They just naturally, they know how to solve problems, because what causes you to solve problems is because you're in an environment where things are not as well as they should be. So because of those problems in Africa, Africans were naturally innovators. We just don't know how to go from having an idea to bringing it to market to monetizing it. But I think that is where we should be going, because we not only have the knowledge, we have, it's like we've got an amazing work ethic, we've got the resources, so we've got everything. We just need to persuade people that innovation is worth doing.
Absolutely, Cordelia. I know that Cody, you have another engagement, online engagement elsewhere, and your parting words. Once you're gone, it's just going to be the three men now. I don't, you are brightening our space, and with your contributions, and of course your inventions, and it's going to be the three musketeers, I guess.
Absolutely
Yes,
not. It's been a pleasure sitting here in the company of three amazing men, and thank you so much for giving me this time and to allow me to meet two of the greatest inventors from my home country. It's always a massive pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, and if before you go, of course, Sister William and Sister Tenda, if you need contacts amongst all of us or amongst the three of you, you can always get them from Conrad. If there's a bright idea that just sparked, oh, I think I can do this with Cody. I can do this with Sister Tenda. I'm sure you can get the contacts from Conrad and the ZAA team. But thank you, Cody. William, is there anything you want to say to Cody before she goes?
Fantastic work. I know it's very hard to do startups. People they underestimate just how much work goes into this, and there's so many variables, and often we're flying blind. So congrats to you, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Atenda, is there something you want to say to Cody before she goes?
All I have to say is, you know what, I'm always inspired by women in the entrepreneurship space, because I believe women have got the hardest job, bringing up kids and all of that stuff, naturally, the maternal instinct. So when you enter into the entrepreneurship space, I know we speak of it from SDGs and all that, we are gender empowerment, but seeing it in action is something totally different. And massive respect to you. Keep going. Don't stop for anything. The sky is the limit.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cody. Cody, we're gonna excuse you as we'll just continue the conversation for the next 15-20 minutes. But thank you very much, Cody, for being on this broadcast.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks.
So I'm going to go back to William. William, you spoke about coming to Zimbabwe in the next month or two, whenever it is possible for you to travel and come down. When was the last time you were home?
I think I was last in Zimbabwe maybe 4 years ago, thereabouts, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So now with this particular homecoming for you, and you spoke about the tree of knowledge. Besides that particular invention, is there anything? I know we are way behind in terms of the autonomous cars, because there's no way they'll drive on our roads anyway. They'll probably just fall down some crater, some pothole, corners, such street and such street, and they won't get there. So I guess that those are the systems that Africa and Zimbabwe would need to be in place for us to have an autonomous and driverless car. But besides, you've got the tree of knowledge. Is there? I would like you to speak on that, and you coming and bringing it home, or any other invention that you feel that Zimbabwe and Africa at large could, whether it's commercial or it's non-profit, as you said, of your invention and your work going forward. What innovation would you bring home to Zimbabwe and Africa at large?
So I do have a plan to bring specifically 13 inventions as part of a crazy book idea I have. I can't go too much into detail as to what they are, but what I will tell you is I have a view on technology in general, that me as an entrepreneur, I could invent tech that could do pretty much anything at this point, but I feel it's my duty to make tech that has value beyond it being profitable, as in what difference will it make in the world. So you might think, yeah, self-driving cars is loads of money. It is, it's $1 billion industry. However, the way we're doing it is we're making some of the most advanced technology in the world, which is designed to do a very simple task that solves a very real problem. So a problem you might not realize that happens here in Europe is you get these villages similar to here, actually, of like rural Wales or rural England, where there's an old grandma who's not too different to my grandma, arthritis in one hand, has to drive up this tiny road to get to like her local shop, and then pick up her supplies, then drive herself back. She lives by herself. In my world, why don't we just send a robot car that will do that automatically? So it's solving technology to solve problems, not for the sake of making money, but to solve problems because it does good in the world. So the innovations I'm bringing towards Zimbabwe, a lot of them are going to go down that path of it actually solves a really big problem. And one will be along the path of water, another along the path of food. But I'm talking mass scale. I mean, these are going to be really big scale. The whole world will know about these, but I can't go too much into detail now. But it's on the near horizon. So technology for good.
Absolutely. And whilst we are at that, you had a word for the youth. Do you think that I'm putting you on the spot here?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that if ZAA was to around your itinerary organize face-to-face motivationals with young techs and innovators, that's something that you'd be interested in doing?
It's something I'll be interested in doing, but you know what I'll be really interested in doing is talking to the parents. So the biggest problem I identified with the innovation in Africa, India, possibly some parts of China is the culture. So the culture with the parents is such that kids don't necessarily have value. So when you're young, you're told you're a child, you don't know anything. So the kids are repeatedly instilled in them that you can't ever question adults. And by kids growing up that they can't question adults, they can't question the world. So they can't question how things are done, why they're done that way. Because if you do that from a young age, this is what actually gives you innovation or disruptors, people that dare to be different. And I think the biggest issue is not so much educating the kids, but more educating the parents, because the kid might have a crazy idea, but, oh, I can't, I'm not allowed to, you know, I don't have permission, or I can't question this system, I can't question that. So I think the first step is probably educating the adults as opposed to the kids.
Fantastic. I rightly resonate and agree with you that culture really has got a lot of things to do. And also now, imagine we're all raised with what you want to do when you grow up. You know, the first things that always come to mind is I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an accountant. There are always words that those are the words, and yet the world has changed, and now we have you know, jobs of the future that are totally different. And if anything, these jobs they're going to actually be archaic. You know, they're going to be non-existent.
Oh, absolutely. And there's going to be no money in them as well. I mean, doctors are, if you knew a doctor's salary in England, you'd earn more being a plumber than a doctor. You know, it's just the way it works, unfortunately. Yeah, I think junior doctors earn nothing. I mean, yeah, even a cleaner earns more than a junior doctor in England, actually, now that I think of it. The people who earn all the big money are jobs that literally did not exist 10 years ago. Ask, I don't know, grandma in Zimbabwe, tell me, what's an app developer? They have no idea, but the iPhone's 11 years old. 2 years after the iPhone, the app development market came. So there's all these new jobs, or social media manager. These jobs didn't exist 7 years ago. And then the new jobs that earn more money than pretty much nearly all the above that the parents grew up seeing. I think when I was growing up, I think it was one of the coolest jobs was to be a bank manager as well. Bank manager. Exactly. So yeah, I think the thing is, if we really want to effect change, we need to teach the older generation to begin to slowly let go and adapt to the modern world, that realize, no, it's changed a lot, because they are the poison in the water supply, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Poison in the water supply. And then Tatenda, your work in automation and in cars, is there anything that you learned from the Rwanda and Kenya model, where they are pushing their own brands as a country? Is there something that you also would like our country to take a leaf from, obviously.
Okay. Before I go into my question, I just want to echo something that really hit home with what William said. You know, the poison in the stream, like he says, I call it becoming prisoners of a borrowed process. So the education system was developed way back. You know, there were no social media influencers, there was no internet, it's an ancient system. And in Africa, it doesn't encourage innovation, or anywhere in the world. So the innovators die before they get a chance to express themselves. And one of the things that I think from a tech space that maybe William is touching on, that we are trying to echo is the training of people to remove that whole stigma of wanting to be a teacher or a doctor. Because one of the challenges when you ask me is, how does one become a car designer? That's a very serious question. It's a very simple question to ask someone in the UK, but you can't ask someone in Africa that question, because I faced challenges going through that. Now, to answer your question, how does a country develop their own vehicle? I think that's not the right question to ask. Does a country have a process to produce a product? Is a better question. So when you talk of Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Morocco, or I say Tanzania, but I think I really wanted to say Ghana, Morocco, Kenya, they have got products that they are trying to produce. In my view, they've researched on what works, what might work for them, how it will work. The thing I think maybe is missing in African countries is the process of it. So if you have a process, you can create 20 different products. And us as Mureza, we can go from the primate all the way to an autonomous vehicle. We just need to talk to William nicely to use his technology on our product as part of our process. We can go full electric vehicle if we so wish to. So the moment a country pins itself down on a product, and they say, okay, we are only going to manufacture cars, and then what? Because cars are a saturated market. You can't innovate beyond a car. A car is a car. Unless you want to go beyond that and say, I'm making an aeroplane, then you change, pardon the noise in the background, then you change the dynamic of your business model. You're now in a different industry. So we are saying at country level, as Zimbabwe, for them to say, to even think, they've got infrastructure there. I mean, there's a factory which we probably would have been able to use. Unfortunately, you know, Zimbabwe being Zimbabwe has got some different set of conditions for you to do business. They decided to choose to put product there, which hasn't come out in a number of years. And we tried to lobby them and make them see the light that it's not about the product, it's about the process that you want to run in there. If you look at Elon Musk and Tesla, they have been successfully able to set up a factory in Germany, a gigafactory in Germany. They set up a factory in China. This is an American company. Based on the global war that's going on, that's the hardest thing to do. So will Mureza be able, or will Africa be able to set up a plant in China? Will Africa be able to set up a plant in the UK or in the US? That's definitely going to be very hard to do. But if you set up a process can never, and I underline that word, can never really be questioned if it works well or is an improvement or an innovation to what exists. So the dynamic of us producing cars on the continent, I think it's overdue. I mean, we've got all the brands on the continent, Chinese, European, American. We've tried and tested them. We've got mechanics who can take these cars apart and put them together. That's just engineering 101. There's nothing special about that. However, the process of bringing together all the components you need, in one vehicle, you might have 3,000 components in a standard ICE engine. But in an electric vehicle, there's less components. So that could be something that Zimbabwe can look at. They've got the lithium deposits. They've got the cobalt you need to make the batteries. Should they not consider then having a process of beneficiating those minerals into fuel cells that will be useful in the automotive industry? They become a player in the global value chain, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which promotes revenue, which promotes export, creates jobs, as opposed to just making one product that will probably sell and saturate the market, and you can't sell it in another country, because you also have to look at the dynamics of the divisions that exist in some of these countries. So if you propagate processes in different countries, our strategy for South Africa is different than our strategy for Zimbabwe, but we are still going to sell products in both countries. Our strategy for South Africa is different than the strategy we have for Nigeria. So all I'm simply trying to say is, it's not about product, it's more on the process side.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that, Tatenda. We really appreciate it. We are getting right at the tail end of our conversation here, but it would be amiss of me not to bring in the recent pandemic, the coronavirus, which has ravaged the world and ravaged and really messed up business. William, do you just want to share some nuggets on what you've had to face with regards to innovation, or maybe bringing out, as I guess with you inventors, when something like this happens, you start to think, how do I make it better? Which is, again, the driverless car. Then even in a pandemic, it's supposed to just, it's a robot. There's no human interface there. Is this something that would have been inspired you, or this has been in the pipeline? With the coronavirus, William, have you had any inspirations or any solutions that were light bulb because of the pandemic?
So for us, I'll start by trying to maybe define the word entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur is someone who creates or seeks out opportunities without regard for the resources they currently control or don't control. So we're always trying to do the impossible anyway. Pandemic, what pandemic? We're doing the impossible anyway. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world, because we're used to just constantly adapting, trying to do the impossible. And there's always unexpected variables. This time it's a pandemic. Who knows what could be next time? And it's not our workflow with our team. It barely was noticeable. It was just annoying that no one else would pick up the phone, or the larger companies have gone quiet. But in terms of, did it put a spanner in our works? Probably not at all, because it's just what our startups do. This is the whole point. We're trying to do the impossible in impossible scenarios, because that weeds out all the weaker companies and leaves the strong ones. So it's brutal, but true.
Thank you there, William. Tatenda, with regards to you and putting your cars in assembly, I just need to know, in South Africa, I know there were lockdowns. The first ones were severe, and then relaxed conditions and so on. Did this bring back your assembly line? Did this affect you? Did it knock you in terms of your output?
Well, to be honest, no. COVID to us became a blessing in disguise, because on the one end of the business model, the retail model, people were used to walking into showrooms, seeing cars, touching them, and then making a decision. Then COVID came, all of a sudden everyone is an online shopper. So for us, that was the biggest blessing, because that's why even our launch was online based. We all wanted that transformation, and COVID sort of like motivated it. So the market knew of us without having to physically come to our premises. And in terms of production, here in South Africa, the lockdowns were real. For about 6 weeks, people were not going to work. There was no movement. But from a process perspective, you just press pause. Just a second there. So yeah, I'm back online. Sorry about that. From a process perspective, in terms of production, we never stopped producing components. We just didn't assemble them. We just didn't ship them to where they were supposed to be shipped, because some of the lines are automated that create these components. And we stacked up and said, let's now create stock in anticipation for the boom. And the boom really has come, because people have begun to realize that we are self-sustaining. And in the design department, we started working on a ventilator. So one particular NGO tasked us to say, okay, we want to design and develop a ventilator, which we did, and was featured in the Washington Post in America. And we realize that the more time you have to yourself, the more time maybe you're in isolation, maybe as a company, you try to innovate within. You do an introspection and say, okay, what were we doing before that wasn't working? What do we need to carry forward with us post-pandemic, if ever we were to call it that? So it also leveled the playing field for us. To us or our team, there's no big company anymore in this sector, in the automotive sector, because they made losses we never did. So for us, it became a huge opportunity, a huge springboard to save, collect our thoughts, and look for a better way in a new world. Now, it also influences how products are going to be designed. Are they going to have these COVID certifications, COVID type of equipment installed in them, etc., etc. So you can address that when you are locked up by yourself. It's an innovation process. So I think for us, COVID has not really affected our business in a negative sense. It has actually helped us to realize that we can do better even with less, you know. So I think basing on that, the world is reshaping and we just needed to adjust to that.
Thank you, Tatenda. Gentlemen, allow me to say thank you. I'm just going to ask you now, maybe to just round up with regards to anything in terms of your closing remarks. What you'd like to say, Tatenda. I'll start with you. What closing words you want to say to Zimbabweans generally? You know, whatever it is that they do, wherever it is that they are in the world. What would be your words of inspiration or motivation to them?
I would simply say, because we grew up with an agricultural mindset. I mean, most of us know how to plant something and watch it grow and then eat the fruit thereof. Don't always focus on the fruit or what you want to buy or eat. Focus on the process that brings more fruits to the table. And I'm speaking to every young man, young woman who's got a vision. When you participate in education, that is school, when you go to maybe training, when you go to work under someone, just know that you're in a process. You don't know which part of the process may be, but you're in a process to bring fruit to the country, to your people. And you are a very important piece of that. So an accountant might not really be well acquainted with automotive industry, but we need accountants to be able to justify from a financial perspective. We need technology people to help us on the other side. You need engineers, you need all of that. So in an agricultural process, there's so many things that go into the ground. There's so many seeds that we have, and I believe that's what we have in Africa. And I'm just going to say, do not limit yourself to grow where you're supposed to grow. Grow and bear fruit for the good of the nation. If that makes sense to anyone in an African context, I'll probably simplify it further and say it's not about what you buy, it's about what you build as an African. That's what makes Africa great.
Thank you very much, Tatenda. Thank you so much. And William, I know you'll be homecoming in the next 2 months, but again, we're speaking to a wider audience. ZAA is followed all across the world: Australia, North America, Canada, America, and so on, and the rest of Africa. And really, Zimbabweans are littered across the world. What would you want to say to Zimbabweans in whatever it is they're doing, whether it's innovation in science and technology, or it's in literary law, you know, it's in acting and drama, or as long as you're out there, what would be your parting shots?
Done? Can I be on the main screen? Because I want to show.
Yeah. Please, Tatenda, can you put him on the main screen, please?
Hey, so this is a message for the younger people. I actually want to show you something really cool. First, we're going to take a little journey. If I do this, can you still hear me?
Yes.
I'm guessing that's a yes. Okay, so we're going to move a bit. So you're in my study at the moment. So the symbol you see on the wall over there, that's our company logo. You'll see it on my pin here as well. So this is actually on my desk. This is a bit of a robotic wizardry. We use this inside our driverless cars to be able to swap packages while the car is moving. So think of like a sort of post office sorting office on wheels. So if you go close to like, let's go to one of these little chips here. You'll actually see these are little logos because we actually design all these chips ourselves. And there's quite a few of them doing different things. And back to the revolving mechanism here. If I go back to the wall, there's a smaller version here where we're designing. So a lot of these parts are made by my team, and often they're prototyped in this very room. So I'm going to walk across, well, under the chair. So we call these 3D printers. So what we do is we actually print into 3D space and create new objects. So for example, the little prototype car here, we would have printed this body here and all this and made it electronics. So we actually can create all this on site. I will add that, would you believe, I actually only passed 3 A-levels, O-levels. But here I am in my lab where I design computer chips with my team. And yeah, I just thought you'd find that little tour interesting. So don't, oh God, it's falling over now. So I could say something really wise, really cool, but you know what? Look at the local problems and solve the problems you think are problems. Don't wait for me to say this is what you should do. You should be telling me what you should do. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Well, I give a round of applause to both of you, gentlemen. And of course, just inspiring young people to be themselves, not to be the next William Sachiti, not to be the next attender, but to be themselves and create their own innovations. And that will change the world in the solutions. Because like you're rightly saying, a young boy in Guabalanda, Cholocho, in Mashingo, there are issues, there's stuff happening in their locality that can't compare to South Africa or to England. So you spoke of Myanmar, who, of course, some of them can relate, but they need to think about solving the solutions, the problems in their area and in that. So thank you again. Well, you guys, when you're next in Zim, we really look forward to hosting you and to be part of the itinerary. I hope you will favor us with that so that we can help each other to show this Zimbabwean story and to inspire the next young person to change the world and change their own localities. You know, thank you, Will. Thank you very much. And the comments again. I've been going through this whole presentation. The comments were wow, impressive. You know, and people just sponging off. You know, everything that you guys have been saying. And we know that you've been an inspiration, and that there are people that were following and being on this broadcast, and I know that whose lives have changed. So thank you, Tatenda. All the best with Mureza and your launch. Please do invite us at your launch when you come to Zim. We'll look forward to that as well, to support you, most importantly. And oh man, trees of knowledge. I mean, I can't even think or fathom how that would work, but I can just imagine that little boy in Bindura, in Mashingo, that role setter, whose life will change. So thank you guys on behalf of ZAA Global Virtual Summit 2020, which is the first virtual summit really hosted by ZAA. Thank you and our sponsors. I'm gonna get back to Tatenda. Tatenda, please come through.
Okay, thank you so much, Maimba, for having us, hosting us here. It's a great platform for us to be. I got to share the platform, you know, with innovators of the world, people who are fighting cancer. It's always humbling to share a platform with such people. I mean, we are going to be in Zim. We already have an office in Zim. That one, unfortunately, we couldn't really do much during the lockdown period, but come 2021, it's going to be a lot of action there. What I can say at this point is we appreciate the opportunities that you have given us. We look forward to sharing so many other platforms and contributing and adding value where we can. We'll share with you as much as we can. You can stick to our social media platforms. We are, a young generation company. We like to play around on the socials. So you can find our information there as to when our next events are going to be, our products, when they're going to roll out. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys. And to William, I'm going to say massive respect to what you're doing. I understand, especially from the industry that probably you're working in. That's quite innovative. We would like to welcome you or approach you and say your technology has got a product on our design table that's waiting for it. I was very happy to see your Creality 3D printer right next to me. Mine has not been doing a bit of work since we stopped another project, but yeah, I'm really happy that these connections were made, and thank you so much again to this platform for hosting us.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm going to now go back to Tatenda, the administrator. Tatenda, do you want to come through, please?
Hi, Maimba.
Hey.
Hi, Tatenda. This has been a very informative segment. I'm still blown away. Like there was so much stuff going on. I feel like I just came out of a sci-fi movie. Amazing stuff, you guys. Thank you so much, Tatenda, for coming through. This has been, like I said, very informative, and I'm happy to hear about all the progress you're making with your innovations. And we're looking forward to seeing you when you come to Zim to launch your product. Maybe give us a test drive.
Now, the test drives can happen. Don't worry about that. We'll definitely be in Zim, like I said. It's one of our key markets, and definitely you guys will have a front row seat to the action as it happens.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, all the people who are interacting in the comments. Maimba, thank you so much for moderating this session. Looking forward to getting on to the next sessions for the summit. But you guys have been great. It's like I said, I'm still just mind blown by everything that I've learned today. Also want to thank the sponsors: World Remit, High Mount Construction, Kudu Business Support, and Fine and Country. Thank you guys so much for making this happen. We're going to take a break until 7 for this summit. We're going to come back with the music segment. That you don't want to miss. We've got some big names, Zimbabweans in South Africa heading big companies. We're talking about Sony, ATV. We're talking about Universal Music, and we have time through. I mean, a lot of us have heard her sing, but we want to hear from her how things have been going in the music industry and all that. So at 7, we'll be continuing with the summit, and that's not one to miss for sure. You need to come through and listen to what the guys in music have to say. So we'll be live again on Zim Achiever's Facebook page and on Zimba Live and on YouTube. But follow the conversation on Twitter, #ZAA Summit. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you when we come back for the music session.